Good morning. Welcome to a slightly earlier than usual breakfast club. It's 10 a.m. I'm joined by the legend that is Az. How are you doing this morning?
The legend, God, I think it's a bit strong. I'm a bit hungover, but otherwise okay. Well, actually, no, I'm not okay. My team is giving me sleepless nights, as we're going to discuss, and yeah, I'm really stressed going into this game week. So yeah, you caught me at a bad time.
At least you made your transfers before you started on a few beers or whatever it was. And obviously at Fantasy Football Scout, we do say drink responsibly, unlike Az, so you
Yeah,
feel better on
yeah.
Saturday mornings. All right, yeah, let's just jump in straight into the teams because I think we've got some mind games we can play with you for your team because you have messaged me on WhatsApp that you've made your transfers. So
Yeah.
I'm going to bring your team up on stream, or on screen even now. Go on, run us through what you did, why you took out a Man United player for a -4.
Oh, you know what? Like this whole week's been like the build up of get Liverpool players in. They're playing Villa, worst defensive record in the league. Make sure you've got at least one of their attackers. Humiliated by City, surely going to want to bounce back with a big win. So took a -4, completely ignored them because why not? I took out, so I've taken out Rashford this week for Greenwood, and I'm not saying Greenwood is a better option than Rashford for a second. I think Rashford is going to haul before now the end of the season. But we're talking about a nearly 5 million difference
Yeah.
between the two players, and I think from what I've seen of Greenwood, I think he's going to be really important for the running. I mean, you're the United fan. I'm sure you know more than me, but just been really impressed with him. And I think his competition in Dan James all season has been okay, but I don't think really to the level that man you want to kind of be aspiring to. And when he came on the other day, I was just really unimpressed with him. And to me, Greenwood is a sure starter in that side. In the strongest Man U lineup. So it was kind of like, if I make that move, what can I do with the money? And it turns out I could do quite a lot with it. So I really wanted Pulisic in until the end of the season. Again, just been really impressed with him. Just looks so threatening every time he gets the ball. One of those players that you just watch the game and you're just like, I need to get him in. Like watching Chelsea without owning him is going to be awful.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's a bit like, again, he's not the same level, of course, not yet anyway. But it feels like he is their hazard at the moment.
yeah, yeah.
Again, before I get tweeted at, not his level, but if anyone's going to be like him right now in that Chelsea team, obviously they got some good signings coming for next season. But right now, yeah, he does look really good. I don't own him, and I'm a little bit worried about that. He is the one I don't own that I would like to this season.
Yeah, and I mean ownership's still quite low, about 6-7%. Got Watford at home in this game, which Watford look a shambles since the restart. And yeah, I mean just it's the way he gets the ball and just drives, just constantly driving. I've got issues with someone like Son who drifts out a bit wide or drops a bit deeper and stuff like that. But Pulisic is to me is great because he's just so attacking, trying to draw fouls and shoot all the time. So yeah, I really wanted him. The trouble with doing that was it didn't quite leave me enough money in the bank to get Salah or Mane. And it was Pulisic that I kind of want long term. And I thought, really, Liverpool, I'm just not, I'm just not sure what they're gonna be like from now until the end of the season. And looking at how good Man you are, I just thought, well, actually, I'm probably going to be captaining Fernandez, for quite a lot of this run. And then I looked at City's fixtures, and I just thought maybe Sterling could be a real, because I'm around the sort of the 100k mark. If I want any chance of getting into the top 10k, I need to do something a bit different. So I thought, Sterling's looked great since the restart as well. So I thought, take a -4, getting three players who have got really good form and good fixtures and look the part. And so that's what I've done, which means ignoring Liverpool versus Villa, which is going to be an awful watch tomorrow.
The only thing I could say to comfort anyone that's in the similar position is, like, looking at the captain part. I thought I knew people would be drawn to Man United players this week, and obviously the Bournemouth versus Newcastle game has helped a lot for that. I mean, if Newcastle can score 4 goals, how many can Man United score? I think that's kind of the mindset for a lot of people. But the captaincy part, I knew Bruno would be up there, but he's actually top on Fantasy Football Scout, higher than
Yeah.
the likes of Salah. So that's the only comfort I can give. Salah and Mane are still going to be captain by quite a lot, of course. But yeah, I don't know about. We're going to talk about Liverpool a little bit more. I don't really know about them. The problem is, I don't think they're not going to. Klopp is not going to come in and change the full 11. But the chances are he's
No.
going to make one or two changes, and how much will that affect? It's a bit like Man United. If Man United change from that first 11 that's played the last two games, they're not as good. It doesn't matter who comes in; they're just nowhere near as good. Liverpool maybe not quite as bad as that, but if they change one of the front three, whether it's Mane or Salah, of course the other one suddenly looks like a great pick for that week. But I don't know, with the other players on the pitch, maybe they don't look quite as good. So, yeah, I quite like the Sterling pick, to be honest. I have my eyes on a few different moves next week. One of them does include him, potentially. It's just, obviously, with Man City, it's the same as always. Are they going to start? He's just played. Did he play the whole game in the last one? I think he might have played. He played a lot of it anyway.
He came off. He came off with about 5 minutes to go, I think. He looks razor sharp though. He looks really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's just tricky because kind of these teams that are looking so good, like City mainly, great fixtures as well. But then, like you say, you've got the rotation. You've got the fact they're still in the FA Cup, which adds even more kind of complexity to it. At least Sané's gone.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
one
Yeah,
positive.
I've bought Mahrez in this week, and a lot of people will do that because he didn't start the last game. But in terms of minutes from now until the end of the season, it doesn't mean he's going to be better. It just means for this week, you're a little
Yeah.
bit more sure he's going to play, but he still might not. He could get benched 2 games in a row. Yeah, so it'd be interesting. I mean, I can't argue with the Fernandes captaincy. I will just address something that's being talked about in the chat because I tweeted about it last night, and obviously it was a bit of a Twitter drama about Bruno
Oh yeah.
and Pogba. So here's the thing: one paper is leaked as kind of wrote a report that Bruno and Pogba got injured in training. Any other paper that's ran with that is quoting the first paper, and from what we can see, that's come from a parody newspaper. No one can see any other sources. No reliable and good sources that I would usually use have tweeted about it or even mentioned it. So I would try and ignore it, even though I know it's difficult to ignore FPL news like that. And it is not affecting my decisions at all. And as you can see from Az's captaincy, it's not affecting his decisions either. So I would, if a better source comes out before 11:30, then sure, make a change. But it looks like it's come from a parody account. So yeah, we'll have to wait for news on that. So yeah,
Very, very funny parody actually.
it is pretty good. Yeah, if you read it, I won't quote it word for word because this is family friendly. But yeah, it was quite funny.
It's worth a look if you got some time.
Before I jump into my team, right? You are thinking or have thought. I don't know if you still are. It's probably a bit late now. Thinking of free hitting this week. So I'm going to bring your team on that you sent to me. What's making you think about free hit this week?
Well, yeah, this is it. I made my transfers, I think, on Thursday night, and went to bed. I was quite happy, and then sort of woke up in cold sweats on Friday, thinking I'm mad, like as if I'm going into this Aston Villa game without any Liverpool players. So I thought, well, I could just go completely opposite way now. I could, if I'm thinking, Liverpool aren't kind of going to have the best options until the end of the season. Free hit's kind of perfect because they've got a great game this week, and then I can get my old team back and kind of ignore them until the end of the season. So I thought about bringing in Mane and Salah and sort of going quite hard on this Liverpool game. I mean, the main reason I'm thinking, I don't really know when to use it,
Yeah, it's tough.
because there's no double game weeks sort of looking likely. It looks like kind of game week 38 plus might be the best time to use it. But is it the best time? It's fun because you get to pick your squad for the final week and roll with that. But in terms of actually what kind of tactics, I kind of feel a bit lost, and so I think I'm a bit envious of you because you used yours and it's not kind of weighing you down.
I do think chips sometimes can play on your mind so much you start making not bad decisions but different decisions you wouldn't usually make. Like this team looks fine, but obviously you're betting on no rotation in that Liverpool team. Like I said, if one of what I would say to anyone that's considering it is you're going to have that issue every week. If you go for 3 Man City players this week, it could be a different 3 Man City players next week, different the week after. The only 2 other weeks I can see, like really quickly looking at it, is game week 36. Chelsea play Norwich. So I think from now on, for most weeks, you're probably not going to want to triple up on Chelsea, but that week you might want to against Norwich. And Man City play Bournemouth. So if there's any kind of pattern, or if 2 of the players get rested the week before, tripling up a Man City attack versus Bournemouth could be huge. But then Man United play Crystal Palace. Maybe you don't want as many there if they're still looking okay defensively. Arsenal play Liverpool. So it's not. I don't think any week is ideal from now until the end of the season. I quite like 33, but to be honest, I think your team looks pretty good without it. 36 looks okay. Otherwise, it's just a free for all on game week 38. And given that all the games play at the same time, it would at least be
Mm.
exciting. Whether or not it will work
Yeah,
very well, I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. That's it.
But you're probably not going to pull
Well,
the trigger, no?
no, I don't think so. And I think, if like you say, I think if I was going to free hit, and you have to kind of use your kind of sort of knowledge of who's played before. So I think actually De Bruyne might not be the best pick because he's played a lot of minutes lately. So maybe switching to Mahrez or someone just for a 1 week, because we're all pretty. He's probably gonna bite us, but we're all pretty confident, as much as you can be, that Mahrez is going to play. So Mahrez seems like a good free hit sort of type pick this week, particularly. So yeah, I think that's what you kind of do when you free hit. You have to kind of sort of work out who you think is gonna start, and if you it allows you at least to drop players for 1 week like De Bruyne or Trent or someone that you'd never consider selling. But if you think they might not play, then you can sort of take the risk. But yeah, it's a stressful chip. I don't really know what to do with
Yeah,
it.
I think like I had an easy decision because I had to use it the first week because I had no wild card. But yeah,
Mm.
I don't really feel for people that got it left, but I know how I can't feel for someone that's got a great chip left. But it can be stressful, especially like because the thing is, I know people hate the fact, oh, when are you going to use your chips? Wait for the double game weeks, etc. But it does make it a bit easier. It does make decisions a little bit easier.
Well, there's two kind of issues with it. One is that your team gets sort of reset back to how it was, and you lose the transfer. So if I used it, I've got 2 transfers I've used to take the -4, and my team's going back to how it was before that, which is in a worse state, than it is now. So I wouldn't have Pulisic, I wouldn't have Sterling, that kind of thing. And also, you run the risk that your free hit team's going to score worse than your than your actual
Yeah,
team.
mine did. My free hit in game week
Yeah.
30 for the double game week. I went quite big on double game week players. I think it scored 8 or 9 less than my normal
Yes.
team, which only had I think 2 or 3 double game week players for that Man City Arsenal one. Just De Bruyne and Egan, and I think that and Leno. That was the only 3 double game week players I had, and that team would have outscored my free hit team. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if you had 2 free transfers, I think losing them is actually quite a big deal.
Yeah, it
So
is.
it probably
Yeah,
make.
that's
I don't think your team's that bad. I think it's not as good as my team, but
thanks, mate.
it looks alright.
That helps. That helps.
I'll bring my team up now. Just again, another thing in the chat about the time we're doing this. Appreciate obviously it's not over deadline, but let's be honest. The deadline team today is what, Brighton and Norwich. I don't think too many people are holding out all their transfers for that. And real life meant we had to do it at 10 a.m, which is on me, but that's all good. So I'm going to bring up my team. So I've done Hayden to Mahrez in probably what will be my biggest transfer upgrade ever.
Wow.
Yeah, I won't rant about how that happened with Ings to Nketiah too much further because I've done that enough this week. But it left me 4.2 million in the bank. I had that transfer kind of penciled in. I could have got Jesus in for Calvert-Lewin, but I still think Jesus is going to get same minutes as Mahrez, if not a little bit more before the end of the season. And he has done really well when Aguero's not been in the team, but he hasn't done well since the restart. I just haven't seen enough from him from watching him to go for that punt, and it does kind of hurt the rest of my team a little bit. So, yeah, I've bought in Mahrez. So I've now got a power 5 midfield. Fernandes, De Bruyne, Salah, Mahrez, and Martial. It does mean I still got Calvert-Lewin
Nice.
up front. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I've got Calvert-Lewin up front, so I'll quickly talk about him because I know a lot of people don't want him in their team. And I'm not trying to justify keeping him, but I just don't see a better move for my team to use a hit as well to get rid of him. I can't get Greenwood. I already have 3 Man United players. And outside of that, I don't really know where anyone will go. I know people prefer Ings, but I just don't think I make that swap when he has Man United and Man City in the next 3. Maybe I make that swap later. But for now, and if you saw the stats I posted on him yesterday, they're very similar to Ings' stats. Just happens that Ings' 3 shots on target have gone in, and Calvert-Lewin's 5 shots on target haven't. So I don't think Calvert-Lewin and Everton have suddenly become an awful team. But yeah, not ideal. But the fact that Spurs just conceded 3 to Sheffield United makes me a little bit happier about playing him. So I've benched Nketiah, Egan, and Saiss. I've actually got Saiss third bench, and some people are playing him this week. I don't know. What do you make of that Arsenal-Wolves game? And obviously, Wolves have been brilliant since the restart. I think they're the only team to win all their games, clean sheets every game as well. What do you think about that game? Do you think Arsenal are going to get a goal on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough one to call, which was another reason why I was kind of maybe leaning towards the the free hit, because I don't really like games where you kind of, it's same with Tottenham, because I've got Aurier and Son, and I don't really know what's going to happen in that Tottenham Everton game. It's, it leads a bit of kind of uncertainty, and the same with the Wolves game. I mean, if you'd asked me sort of pre-restart what I'd expect if Wolves played Arsenal, or even a week or so ago, I would have said Wolves are going to absolutely thrash them. But they've become a bit more kind of almost like a resilient team, haven't they? I mean, they're grinding out kind of 1-0 wins. Is that 1-0 wins in the bounce or something?
They're doing much better,
Not
yeah. Is in terms of
yeah, not
defensively, not necessarily attacking wise. Norwich
yeah,
kind of helped them out with that a bit, but yeah,
yeah,
defensively they're doing okay.
yeah. Not really what I'd kind of associate with Wolves as being a kind of a really hard to break down sides. I think it could be quite a cagey game. I don't think there's going to be lots of goals in it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 1-1 or something like that, or a 1-0 to Wolves. I can't see Arsenal winning it, but I don't think it's going to be particularly high scoring.
Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. Like, I'm not saying that Arsenal are going to go and win that match, but could I see them scoring one goal? Yeah, I
Mm,
think I can. If I had Doherty, different situation, I play him every single week without even thinking about it. And I know Sice has got a bit of goal threat from set pieces, but I just think Charlie Taylor's playing a Sheffield United team that haven't looked great going forward. I get that they just scored 3 against Spurs, so maybe that's a bit different. But even Egan against Burnley, I would probably play ahead of Sice this week. So I am going to make that
yeah,
bench decision. And Arsenal they did kind of rest Nketiah. Well, we think they rested him rather than just rotated him. I don't know. Nketiah and Saka as well. So they're going to have a couple of fresh players to play against that Wolves defence as well. So I've got Nketiah first bench. Fernandes is my captain too, although I think actually if I go and look at my FPL team, not on this screenshot, it's probably on Martial. I'm flip-flopping between the two because I've got it wrong the last 2 weeks. I literally got it. I've had both players the last 2 weeks and got it wrong. So I've got that mindset now of, do I go back and change it, bearing in mind that's not worked the last 2 weeks, or do I keep it on Martial, even though Fernandes feels like he's got a few more different avenues to get those points? And it's really tough because I know we talk about Martial in a sec, because I know you're not necessarily his biggest fan from an FPL point of view. But in fact, no one cares about my team. Let's bring up Man United. I've put Man United and Liverpool stats on the screen. I appreciate they're probably quite hard to read. I need to think of a better way to put them on. Okay, let's start with Man United players first. Right, and I asked this question on the Scoutcast. If you were picking 3 right now, which 3 would you pick? If you if you're a wild carding or something like that for the rest of the season.
yeah. I mean, that's the question. I mean, you must be well happy. I mean, they've gone from having no one that you'd consider to suddenly having all these great picks. And like you say, like picks with. It's hard to pick 3 because you get so much kind of there's so much different ways you can get points from their players. So like defense, I mean, if you get a defender, that limits the amount of attackers you can get. But the fixtures are so good and they're keeping so many clean sheets that
6
kind
and
of
8.
steady 6 points. Yeah, it's amazing. I never would have thought they were capable of that, to be honest. Yeah. So I mean, I've got De Gea, I've got Greenwood, and I've got Fernandes, and I'm pretty happy with that. I don't need to talk about how great Fernandes is. I mean, his points since he joined you are just absolutely crazy. Just so many ways of getting points. He scores from open play. He's got set pieces. He's got penalties. He can create assists. He's just got everything. So, to me, he's just a stand-up pick. He's just no brainer. Everyone should be having him for the run they've got. And then it gets a bit more difficult. I mean, I do really like Rashford. I think he's looked bright, but he hasn't had that kind of. He doesn't look quite sharp. He's been out for a while, and I think he's still kind of adjusting. I hoped that he'd kind of look a bit more threatening than he has done. I mean, he's got a couple of assists, but his shooting's a bit all over the
Yeah,
place. He's drifting out wide quite a lot. He looks good, but he doesn't look quite right in front of goal. And he's a lot of money.
yeah,
At
that's my
what
biggest
nine
problem with
point
him.
one?
Yeah, he's the most
Yeah.
expensive out of all of them, and the Sheffield United game, he got into a couple of good positions, but like you said, shooting was just a bit rusty. I feel like, from memory at least, from the Brighton game, didn't have too many clear-cut chances. There's a couple of shots he took from range. One of them was so far wide, it was unbelievable.
I know.
Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got the stats up on the screen. So since the restart, right, shots inside the box, Martial, as you might imagine, is top with 6. Greenwood is second with 5,
Yeah.
and he's actually played, apart from Pogba, he's played the least amount of minutes of the whole lot as well. And then it's Rashford 4, Bruno 3, and Pogba only 1. Pogba for me is the worst option, and he's creating a lot of chances. But you can, it's visible. You can see it with the eye when you watch the games. He is a bit deeper than Bruno. So yeah, but what do you think about Martial captain this week ahead of Bruno? Would you have any interest in that if you owned both?
Uh, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I do think Martial's a great option going forward. I mean, he's playing central striker for United in this team. Like, he is great. He's capable of hat tricks, but the trouble with him is, I just find him so frustrating to watch as a player. Like, when he's on form, he is amazing. He's a top player. When he's not, he just looks so lifeless. And like, you compare that to Rashford, who always is buzzing around, looking to get the ball, like all that. Sometimes you watch Martial and he's dropping deep, or he goes wide and he's standing around. I had him for such a long period where he just didn't really deliver. I can't go back there. Um, I mean, personally for me, I just think Fernandez offers more ways of getting points. Uh, I'd pick Fernandez every day over Martial, but Martial is the kind of the differential option who is capable of explosive returns. So it depends what you want. I mean, in terms of consistency, I think um, I want consistency from a captain rather than potential for a 2 points or a 21 pointer.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd pick Fernandez every day. I think it's just unlucky that we both captained him. I think in like the one game he's blanked the entire time.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think it's two games. Yeah. So no, I'd stick with the faith. I'd stick with Fernandez personally, but
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can see why you'd be tempted.
we're still obviously on a very small sample of games for Fernandez versus everyone else. Like, it's just 8 games, but he's still posted an 8.1 points per match average. That is the most for all midfielders. Better than De Bruyne, better than Salah, better than Mane. And this is why I like Martial. I know I get why people say that, like, he's a bit inconsistent. It's like a 2, and then it's a 15, then it's a 3, and then it's 3, and then like a 8 or whatever. But I think the thing with Man United players, you probably will, unless suddenly there's a downturn in form. You're probably going to be keeping him for the rest of the season. And he is, out of all midfielders, he's 5th for points per match this whole season. It's not just since restart. The whole season kind of gone under the radar a little bit. 5.7. So to give some context, Mane 6.5, Salah 7.1, De Bruyne 7.2. So Martial's 5th for all midfielders, and I think that's what I like about him, is that you're not just getting him in for 1 week on a free hit. You're getting him for the rest of the season. So he is, especially if you're not looking to captain him, he will average pretty good points from now to the end of the season. Probably enough to really justify that price. And that's why I put into Rashford. I think Rashford's points per match is slightly higher, but we've got to remember now he's probably off penalties. He has looked a little bit rusty since the restart as well. So Martial and Fernandez are still my favourites. But yeah, fair enough. We'll see.
The one. Sorry, just gonna
Yeah,
say
go on.
the one good thing about sort of Rashford and Greenwood is that, like you say, like, you're having issues trying to pick a decent striker. Like, at least it kind of takes one of those striker spots, because there's so few options and there's so many good midfield options. So going with you've got Martial, which looking at your midfield means that you're not going to be able to get Pulisic in. I wouldn't have thought, because you're not going
Yeah,
to want to drop any of the midfielders that you've got. So it's not just a case of sort of Martial versus Pulisic. Is also Calvert-Lewin versus Rashford or Greenwood as well on top of it. So having Greenwood particularly, but also Rashford, just lets you be a bit more flexible in the middle, not going for Martial. So that's another reason why
yeah.
I'm
Obviously,
avoiding.
that's always the way, isn't it? You can't have them all. Like, I would really like Pulisic. The thing is, what I would say is, if I had a way to get Greenwood or Rashford, I don't think I would take out Martial Fernandez. I would go triple attack, I think, and I would probably go Greenwood. And yeah, the one reason I went for Mahrez over Pulisic, it's a little bit of hope more than anything, is that after this week he does play Palace and Sheffield United, which, not saying it will happen now, and obviously he's in great form. Chelsea are decent as well. They're 2 teams which I would just hope might keep him a little bit more quiet. But he still might come into my team next week. So he is the one midfielder I don't own that I would like. Foden too, to be honest, if I thought he was going to start every week, because he's looked incredible. But let's move on from Man United. I put Liverpool stats.
So good.
Yeah, he has been so good. It's just obviously rotation and stuff, but I'm considering him next week. And I'll tell you why I'm considering him or Pulisic next week, because I'm thinking of maybe getting in Harry Kane. So let's talk about Spurs, because I know you wanted to sit here and tell me how rubbish they are, I think. So what are your thoughts on Spurs? Because you've got Son, right?
Wow.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Oh, I've got Son and Aurier, and it's been a disaster. So, well, I mean, it hasn't been a complete disaster, but it's not been great, and I do worry about what the future holds for me with those two. Because I mean, that Sheffield United game, it's just, they just look so void of all ideas of how to get the ball in the net, and they also look completely open to conceding. Like it's crazy. Like I just Mourinho. I'm not a fan of Mourinho at all. But one thing that you can say was he's good at setting teams up to nick a 1-0, or to defend, at least defend as a unit and defend solidly, and then attack as a unit. Like that's kind of he's built his whole managerial career around that. And like the Spurs just look so anti Mourinho from what I can see. Like they just don't seem to have a clear kind of plan of of how to play. And it's the fixtures are really good for them. And they've got this Everton game, which I think is a tough one to call. But then they've got Bournemouth, and they've got a really good run until the end. But he's back in the side. He's really going to kind of energise the team and get everyone going and stuff. He's out so wide. Like his positioning is just so not what I want from Son. Like he's so dangerous when he's like through the middle, and Harry Kane's dropping into midfield and Son's running past him and stuff. Like that just isn't happening. So the way he's being used by Mourinho is obviously different to how he was maybe being used under Poch. So yeah, it's a big concern, and at a time when there's so many decent midfielders and he's such an expensive price, and I could move him on for Mahrez or Martial or Pulisic. It's if you're building the dream midfield, I don't think currently Son is a part of that, which is a concern as I own him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a tricky one. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be buying any of their players based on what I saw. I'm going to hold Son for a bit because he's not owned by that many people, so I think he's a decent shout. But he's ticking over with the assists. If he doesn't perform in that Bournemouth game, he's got to go.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing you could probably hold Spurs players for is that Bournemouth game, and then maybe reassess after that. Like Everton is tough, I think. Although people have been telling me Kane's got a very good record against Everton. I think it's 8 in his last 5. Not that I really buy into records, but thought I'd mention it anyway. That is my main problem with Son at the moment. I think it's his price tag. 9.7 looks expensive when Mahrez is cheaper, Pulisic's cheaper, Fernandes, Martial, like you said, is cheaper. I've got some stats on the screen now for Spurs. So Harry Kane has had more shots than Son, Moura and Bergwijn put together since the restart. I think Kane, I've said it last week, I think he's looked okay. Not back to his best. I think he looked okay against West Ham. He had the ball in the back of the net 4 times against Sheffield United. And look, we won't go into the handball thing. I'm going to assume you think it's rubbish like everyone else.
Oh my God. What is happening? What is happening to the game?
Ridiculous. Yeah, like I fully get it. It's easy just to have a one fits rule that it hits the arm and then it's done. But it's just so harsh. So in my eyes, he got the ball in the back of the net twice legally. He's highest for expected goals as well so far since the restart. Harry Kane, 4 big chances. It's too much work to get him in this week. I don't think it's necessarily worth it against Everton because defensively they're good. But I am up for the Bournemouth game. If he looks okay against Everton again, and granted Spurs weren't great against Sheffield United, I'm going to give him one more chance to show me they can do something. I'm really eyeing him up. But otherwise, I kind of agree with you. Like Aurier is really fun to own because when you watch the games he's so attacking, but he is, like, if you go and ask Spurs fans, he's one of the reasons they always concede. And Dyer has played okay, but I can't imagine he's a better defender than Vertonghen and Alderweireld. Are those two that bad that they're not starting? It just seems really odd.
I know.
But you know what Mourinho is like? He gets that
weird
thing.
Things going on there.
Yeah, he gets that in those situations where he's got like, this is the deal. These aren't good enough for whatever reason, and they just get phased out. And yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see a lot more defensively before I start. I did look at Aurier before, but now I just don't think I can do it. All right.
Well, what he likes to do is make a kind of statement, doesn't he? Like play players who are obviously not good enough and be like, "Oh, look, we're not strong enough. We need to buy. Yeah. We need to strengthen. We need to strengthen." Well, yeah, you've been playing Dyer for half the season. Like, of course you're going to lose games.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. All right, but just before we end, we've got to bring up the famous goals imminent table. Again, apologies if it's really hard to read. I need to find a better way of displaying it. But there's only 5 players on here now. Usually it's quite a long list. And it did really well last week. A lot of players got off. So Antonio's still on for West Ham. He looked really good against Chelsea. You'd imagine he's definitely going to keep starting, of course. Calvert-Lewin is on here. So maybe don't lose hope just yet in Calvert-Lewin. My opinion of Calvert-Lewin is if you've got a good move to do, like if you want to shift funds into midfield, you can go for Greenwood, absolutely fine. If not, don't force yourself to sell him. But there's no reason he couldn't score in the next couple of games. I don't know how to pronounce. I don't think it's House. I think it's Horse for Aston Villa, the defender.
What is he doing on there?
Yeah, well, he's played an extra game, of course, but still, 12 shots in the box in the first 4 matches. Yeah, I think he's already scored as well. Yeah, he has scored, but he's still had enough shots to get back onto the table, even though he scored. Richie for Newcastle, so if you still got him potential there, and Rodriguez for Burnley, that is it. Just really quickly, what do you make of Calvert-Lewin and Antonio? Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, Antonio to me is the standout there because I mean they were absolutely fantastic against Chelsea. I mean, as a Brighton fan, I really didn't want West Ham to win that game, but you've got to take your hat off and just say fair play. Like they look really good. And Antonio was major driving point of that team. Like he's a really good player. Like I really like him. Like, he's dynamic, he's quick, he's strong, he's got kind of loads of good traits. He's got a terrible injury record. And I do wonder if he's going to be able to play every game, from now until the end of the season, because he could. I think Moyes is going to need to manage him a little bit. I think Haller's back now as well. I think was he on the bench in that game? I think he might have been.
I can't remember, but he's close.
Kind of,
yeah.
Yeah, he's there. He is like their only kind of recognised striker. So you've got to think that he's going to have minutes from now. But yeah, I like West Ham's fixtures. I like the fact they've got something to play for. I like Antonio as a player. So yeah, he ticks a lot of boxes for me. And those stats on there, I think are really encouraging.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he can keep it up. He is also Joe's differential or kind of secondary differential or something. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, I'm hoping Calvert-Lewin gets off. Fingers crossed he comes off this week. I think that would be good. Otherwise, yeah, let's.
He's on my bench, so I hope not.
Oh yeah, he's a bench by a lot of people. So I mean, I think I have to play him really, but yeah, we'll see what happens. So thanks very much for joining us this morning. Thanks very much, Az. I'm just really going to quickly bring up your team as well, and then I'm going to bring up my team just to remind everyone that I will score more points this week. I hope, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, cheers, Az, for joining me.
No worries. Pray for me with no Salah or Mane. That's all I ask.
I definitely won't. Make sure you go and drink some water. Thanks everyone for joining us in the chat. Just to really quickly say again, Bruno and Pogba injuries, ignore it unless there's a good source that comes out. We haven't changed our decisions based on it. If you've enjoyed the stream, make sure to give it a like. Much appreciated. Subscribe if you're new around here. And if you want to become a member on Fantasy Football Scout, there is a link in the description below. Good luck in Gameweek 33, and we'll catch you again next week. Cheers all.
See ya.